Good evening. This is Kathy Beatty with Divorce Support Anonymous. Thank you for joining me tonight. I realize how precious your time is, and I am appreciative that you would join me and have discussion with me, which I hope you will. You are more than welcome to make comments, add questions, text me a question if you have it in mind. And I would love for this to be a conversation. That's always been my goal. So tonight's topic is about childhood trauma, relationships, and divorce. So recently, a few days ago, I did an interview with Connie Dunn, who is a trauma-informed coach, a nurse, all kinds of titles. And we talked about childhood trauma and how it relates and how it could be an issue that has caused divorce. And I was amazed at the response that I got. My YouTube channel, a few days after posting, had over 500 views and about 19, 20 likes. Now, I usually get some good responses, but not that good, not that quickly. It usually takes me a couple months to get 500 views. So I wondered what in the world is going on? Why is this topic so relevant to people? And I realize it is. In fact, when I work with people, we wander into that topic quite frequently. But this was an overwhelming sign to me that many of us are dealing with childhood drama and have seen that it caused or played a part in the demise of our marriages. Wow. That is a fact that cannot be ignored and needs to be reviewed and talked about more. So I wanted to do one more. Who knows? I may even do more than this on childhood trauma, relationships, and divorce. So let's talk about how important this topic is. And so, our healing is not going to happen on its own. And as we are in this upheaval, in fact, I say life is upside down anyway, so let's rebuild it to be even better and even healthier than it ever was. And it's not going to happen on our own. It's not going to happen with time. We're not going to wait and then all of a sudden be healed from the things that have happened to us in our childhood, in our marriage, in our life before marriage. It doesn't work that way. And so many of us spend so much of our energy, and this is proven by research and psychiatrists and all kinds of psychology research, that our bodies spend so much time suppressing these traumatic events that we don't have the energy to live a full life as God intended us to be imaginative, to be creating goodness and beauty in our life, because we were spending so much energy suppressing and keeping this down inside of us. So what's the answer to that? That was never what we were intended, how we were intended to live. So life is upside down anyway. And because we're in so much chaos right now, let's really heal all the way. Not just from the effects of this divorce, but all the way. Because God wants us healed. I'm so convinced of that. He never wants you or any of his children to be living life carrying around these incredibly difficult burdens. One of the reasons I wrote this little book, 30 Days of Healing After Divorce, is for us to begin that healing process. So you don't just decide one day that you are going to heal. You decide one day that you are going to drop some of your defenses and begin to be curious about what has happened to you. What is your story? Your story played a huge part in your marriage, and maybe even a huger part in the demise of your marriage. Your childhood trauma, in particular, is hidden very deep, and it is stubborn, and it will remain there until it is pried out and it is sought out. So I want to give you just a few tips on what I hope will be the start of your healing. So like I said, we have this book, right? Or I have this book. And what it does is it goes through 30 days with very simple messages, because we need simplicity, because life is complicated enough right now, especially after divorce and during divorce. So this book covers things like day 7 is on shame. Day 6 is the lies that we believe. Day 5 is anger. Day 4 is depression. Day 3 is the fear is real, or is it? Day 2, mental games. Day 1, what's hiding? This book goes through so many of the issues that are inside of us that are caught there, that are stuck there. And so we have to begin to pursue. First of all, we have to drop our defenses to find it. What is that trauma? What are those stumbling blocks that are within us so deep, so imprinted on our soul, that they're not going anywhere until we intentionally work on getting them out? To begin with, we have to drop our defenses. We're not going to do that unless we are in a safe space to find what those are. Number 2, we're going to be curious about it. Instead of being judgmental or blaming or being angry, be curious. What happened to me that made me react in this way in my marriage? What's going on in my mind and heart? Why am I angry all the time? Why am I dealing with depression? Why am I so anxious? Be curious about what is going on with you. Do not judge it, but show compassion. And that's hard for us to do sometimes, to show compassion to ourselves. We want just to be the tough soldier and deal with this, or we think we're dealing with it. We're not, we're stuffing it. But I'm asking you to find it, to be curious about it, not to judge it, to have compassion. What happened to me as a little boy that made me the man that I am today, that really caused me to have a negative relationship, a painful relationship? Don't judge it. Have compassion on that young boy, that child, that little girl. Don't judge it. Have compassion. And then who can help you? This is something, if you're in your 30s or 40s, you may have been hiding this for decades. Decades. So it's not going to be that easy to pry it out. When you find a skilled trauma therapist or a coach who can help you to find it, to locate it, to have compassion, is going to go much more efficiently, and you're going to be able to locate it, to locate that area in which your heart and your spirit needs healing from. So who can help you? Who can help you in this process? And then there's the question of, how do you see God is seeing you in this trauma? Many times we have a misconception about the kindness and the compassion of God. And so we think that we are being blamed or shamed. God isn't like that. God longs to show compassion to you. He longs to heal you from what has happened to you. And that is so possible, but it won't happen if you ignore it. It is critical that you find it, that you reveal it. And God is part of that. This is a spiritual battle as much as it is an emotional, as psychological. It is very much a spiritual battle. When you think about the stories of compassion of the life of Jesus, you see so many in the stories of his life, so much compassion toward the outcast, the sick, the poor, toward the leper, toward the 5,000, the woman who lost her only son, the widow of Nain, a sickness, blindness, the parable of the Good Samaritan, the prodigal son. They all illustrate stories of God's compassion toward people. But when we think of our trauma or our past, sometimes we don't give God credit for that. I would encourage you to give it a try, to put that which is really troubling you, once you identify it, before the Lord, that you just lay it out to him. And I think you'll be amazed at how compassionate he truly is. I've seen him so compassionate toward me, toward the people in my group, toward the people who made all the mistakes in destroying their marriage and readily admit it. And yet God longs to show compassion to all of us. But we have to receive it. We have to be open to it. Just a couple of quick verses. The Lord's mercies. Through the Lord's mercies, we are not consumed, because his compassions don't fail. He never stops being compassionate toward you. One of the verses that I have held on to many times, I'll restore to you the years that the swarming locust has eaten, the hopper, the destroyer, the cutter, all the things that have come against you. God longs to restore. You shall eat in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord your God, who has dealt wondrously with you. Present yourself to him, to allow him to work wondrously with you. All that hidden stuff that's causing you heartache and pain can be healed. Can be healed. You don't have to carry it anymore. You don't have to live with this incredible burden within your heart and soul. I hope this has been of help and some inspiration for you to start that healing process. If I can be of help, please feel free to give me a shout out. I'd be more than happy to speak with you. I give my first hour consultation at no cost, and I'd love to have a conversation with you. So as we heal, going through this journey of divorce, don't forget, this time is painful, but it's also powerful, because you can rebuild into a life that is beautiful and better than you ever imagined. I've seen it. I know it's true. I hope this has been of help, and I look forward to seeing you next Friday or somewhere in between. May 7th is my next support group. Jump in. Would love to have you join us. Take care, and we will see you then. This is Kathy Beatty with Divorce Support Anonymous, walking with you every step of the way through the trauma and after the trauma of divorce. Have a good evening.